great to be back in my production chair again, and of course, while I'm away, some of the worst stuff in the world seems to happen. How wonderful. We are going to have a look at the Illinois age attestation bill that just passed. This is, of course, an age attestation, not an age verification. This bill is interesting looking at all of the other ones that have come through because there were controversies. Of course, System 76 is down in Colorado. He was able to work with the state legislature for a carve out for open source operating systems. And the California bill, that one there had was already signed into law, did not have any carve-outs for FOSS operating systems, but it was ultimately put back in by an amendment to the bill before the bill goes into effect. This one here, which goes into effect in about a year and a half, so it's January 2028, this bill specifically has non-carve-outs. It literally says distributed, given away by profit or nonprofit. Basically, it's a bill that says, yes, this applies to everything, and we sort of know that. Now, Illinois is also unique in that looking at what it does, Illinois, they actually have some really good laws on privacy out there, which is interesting. So they are the state with the strongest biometric policies. There were several companies and instances, one of them involving White Castle, which required you to use your fingerprint to sign in and out of work. And that is the individuals can sue under that one, and it would have cost millions of dollars for that. So Illinois does actually go after companies that violate it. The problem you have with this is they're sitting on their own laurels here because this is not particularly enforceable to people who do not reside inside of Illinois. But are these companies going to sit there and say, well, let's not do this because they can't do anything? Well, there's positives and negatives on both sides of that coin. But without any further ado, let's jump on into the bill. So looking at the progress of this particular bill, this is actually first filed in February. Now, this is about the time that we started reporting on the Colorado bill, and this is a few months after the California bill was already signed into law. So it went through several different addition of co-sponsors. It went through several revisions, looking at various committees and things like that, until ultimately it went out for vote. It was sent to the passed everything. It was sent to the governor, and it was approved by the governor on July 31st, and now it is the law. So let's go ahead and have a look at what this law happens to say. As I said, and I want to repeat it again because I don't think enough channels are doing a good enough job at this function here, but this is an age attestation, not an age verification. What is the difference between those two things? Well, a verification requires some external company, some external party to look at everything over there. They're going to be the check your papers, please. And then they're going to say, okay, you are telling us the truth. You may proceed through the door. An age attestation is simply when the account is set up, then the person creating the account sets it up for the age that they choose. And then the software company, based on that, now both of those will lead to an API. Of course, the Texas bill is a verification. Texas wants some third party to get all in your business, ask for ID, and they pinky promise and spit shake that they're going to delete it immediately. You know that never happens. So that's really what they're doing. That leads to an API that filters the software into where it needs to be, whereas the attestation basically is yourself saying this is what it's for, which means the bad parents who are ultimately causing, in many instances, some of these serious problems with their kids, they're just going to set their kids up as being 18 years old because they don't want to be nagged by their children that they can't play the latest game that their friend is playing. And this happens all the time. In fact, I will tell this story. I knew of a young man. I helped set up an iPod, and I set it up without internet access, that he had to go to the mother to enter the PIN number to download an app. Basically all of the things that is built in. And ultimately, the parent got sick of that and just said, well, I'm just going to give you the internet. I trust you. Famous last words. And bad things ensued. Okay. That is the thing. I know I'm not saying the parent was a bad parent. I'm just saying that tends to be what happens because we don't set limits on these devices, and you allow them to constantly have it. They're going to constantly nag you. The only way to get you to stop nagging you is to turn it on, and then you have a bunch of issues coming in through the pipeline. And this is why I do not want age attestation either. If I have to have one of them, I prefer attestation over verification. It is a lot more private, and it does not involve a leaky third-party company, nor does it require transmitting government identification over the internet. But the problem is that attestation will not work nearly as well as verification, and the attestation is the first step down the slippery slope that falls into the Grand Canyon of pure 1984 dystopian hellscape. That is the problem that we are approaching. So this bill is an attestation. There's actually specific elements that make it only attestation. It does forbid you from collecting. It forbids you from verifying. It only requires attestation, which is in line because the Democratic states tend to lean towards attestation type bills. The conservative Republican states tend to lean towards verification bills. And this is, of course, one of the major reasons why the right has no earthly idea how technology works. I mean, Matt Walsh came out in approval of flock cameras because apparently he's lost brain cells. And we did a video about that. So with that, of course, like any act, this is like, I think 19 or 20 pages or something. Like any act, it starts with a whole bunch of definitions, like account holder, an individual who's at least 18 years of old, or the parent or legal guardian of a user who is under 18 years of age. The account holder does not include a parent or legal guardian of an emancipated minor or of a parent or legal guardian who is not associated with the user's device. Okay, they have addictive feeds. Of course, this whole short title is called the Children's Online Social Media Safety Act. So this is one of these problems that these politicians have. They're clueless, incompetent baboons. I don't know what in the world is going on through their heads. They're like, how do we fix this? The whole problem happens to be this addictive social media, and we have to block the addictive social media, so we just have to, they don't even know how this stuff works. They literally have things that would literally, the way this bill is written, you literally have to show your ID to get onto a website to download Linux Mint. That's how ridiculous this bill is. This is stupid. All right. This is primarily to address social media. So, of course, you have to verify attest your age to the operating system. Of course, the good parents are already monitoring what their kids are doing, and the bad parents don't give a crap. So I don't think I highlighted any specific definitions. Oh, yes, I did. I did highlight some. Because what does it mean to distribute the operating system? It means to issue, sell, give, provide, deliver, transfer, transmit, circulate, or disseminate by any means. Now, does that apply? Does distribute mean to give the operating system, or does that mean to distribute the application? The definitions seem to forget that one. Under internet-enabled device is a smartphone, a tablet, or personal desktop computer that provides cellular or wireless connectivity, is capable of connecting to the internet, runs an operating system, and is capable of downloading and running applications. Okay. Here's the definition of an operating system. Means a system software that manages the hardware of an internet-enabled device and allows programs and applications to run. Operating system provider means a commercial or nonprofit entity that controls the internet-enabled device's operating system, including the design, programming, or supply of operating systems for internet-enabled devices. So they have in here, the other bills just assumed your device came pre-installed and didn't have any carve out for being able to add to install another piece of software. That was certainly a limitation thereof. In this instance here, what we're seeing is they are specifically saying a commercial or nonprofit entity that controls. Now, this is an interesting caveat on the law that could have a carve out in FOSS, depending on its interpretation. Once again, these definitions are not always clear, even though they try to make them as perfectly clear as possible. Okay, none of the Linux distributions, except maybe, I don't know, maybe Ubuntu, controls the device. They say, here it is, download it, modify it, change it, do whatever you want with it. We don't care. So are they controlling the device? Now, your Apple computer is controlled by Apple. Your Windows computer is controlled by Windows. Your Android is controlled by Google or your other manufacturer. Your iPhone, iPads are controlled by Apple. There are things that those things are doing. You can't stop. You can't modify. You can't peer behind the proprietary black curtain, as it were. On Linux, there is no control. It's here, run this if you want. Change it if you want. Make it your own if you want. We don't care. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. Are they controlling it? Maybe there's a Linux carve-out after all. Who knows? So here are the requirements. So this is January 2028. Fortunately, we have about, what is that? It looks like we got 16 months to turn this thing around, folks. So get on the phone there with your crazy politicians over there in that state. Maybe you should start by going to like a town hall meeting. Hold up your phone where they can see the operating system and say, can you identify what operating system this is? When they look at you like a cow looking at a new gate, go, huh? I don't know. I'm not good with computers. Maybe you should publicly ask, why are you writing laws relevant to computers if you don't even know what an operating system looks like? Okay, it's a fundamental principle here, all right? But maybe it might require us getting a little bit more politically activated here. So a cover manufacturer that offers account setup feature for an internet-enabled device shall. This is interesting. You know, when you set up a Raspberry Pi, there's not a lot of account information you give. Technically, they have an account, but it's all pre-built in. There is no account setup. I'm sure that little Pi imager will eventually have a line in there to indicate the age of the first user. Okay, maybe. So with all of that being said, though, account setup feature for an internet-enabled device. Yes, it is true. Linux computers do have accounts. So yeah, okay, there's another checkbox for this would apply to Linux. So for a device with account setup was completed before January 1st, 2028, a cover manufacturer shall, before July 1st, 2028, provide an accessible interface that allows an account holder to indicate the birth date, age, or both of the primary user of the device for the purpose of providing a signal regarding the primary user's age bracket. So, what if you are a good family and you have one central family computer and everybody uses it? What do you mean the primary user? Maybe this is better set on the account level. Who knows? Of course, many of the families may not have multiple user accounts. But now they're requiring you, if you're still whatever Linux distribution you're using, you're running your Arch. Well, by this date, we're just going to have to push an update that forces you to give us your birth date. Yeah, I can see Arch doing that. It's like Debian, he's like, hey man, you need to tell us what birth date you have. No. Just let's see one of the Free Software Foundation verified operating systems do that. Like, no. Are any of those in Illinois? No? Oh, all of the requirements of this requires the person to be in Illinois. Good luck. That works with White Castle. They got stores all over your godforsaken state. Okay? But for somebody based in Beijing that happens to have an operating system that they are distributing freely, go ahead and subpoena them. I guess they're going to look at you and go, nah. Or however you say no in Chinese. I don't know. But anyway, by July 21st, covered operators shall request from the covered manufacturer an age bracket signal for the primary user when the user downloads or launches a covered platform. There you go. So all of these covered operators that receives a signal shall not. Okay, these are all the things that they are not allowed to do. Request more information than the minimum amount of information necessary to determine the user's age brackets. Request a signal from a manufacturer more than once a year, unless it's in response by the user to update the person's age bracket. So this is like unlike the Texas law, which required repeated verifications. And why Ken Paxton is still fighting to appeal that, I don't know, but he might lose his Senate seat over that. I think he's clueless about this. He does not realize that the independents are what's going to sway his election. Everyone on the right is going to vote for him. Everyone on the left is going to vote for Tallarico. The independents who do not care about politics are looking at one issue right now, Texas, and it's the thing that the guy running on the right for that seat is fighting for, and none of us want it. You're going to lose a lot of votes from the independents, and that's exactly who you need. And may I remind you by how many seats the current holder won by? It ain't a lot. I mean, it was better than DeSantis's governorship, where it was like a small handful of votes. And you know what? If you don't know what happened to his opponent, by the way, I'll let you look that one up. Lordy. All right. But the things they shall not do: request it more than once a year. Let's see. Request the more than the minimum. Use any personal data of a user collected for age for any purpose except to comply with this app. And they pinky promise and spit shake about that. They disclose the age bracket of a user to a third party for the purposes not related to the section. You got to supply it to the third party for the section, though. That way the scammers who don't care about your laws will know that they're targeting a child now. Very good. Thank you. Awesome. So all digital signals must be encrypted to ensure data integrity. And the manufacturer that makes good faith effort to comply with this section, taking into consideration available technology and reasonable technical limitations, shall not be liable. Now, there's actually a number of places like this that are carve-outs to allow whatever is put in there no matter what. That is actually good. Effectively, it says that they are not allowed to go looking for other things to verify that age. That actually is written pretty well in some cases here. So a covered manufacturer shall comply in a non-discriminatory manner, but not limited to complying with the following. Covered manufacturer shall impose at least the same restrictions or obligations on its websites, applications, online services as it does third-party websites, applications, online. Did they just tell us that we have to have an age identifier bracket before we visit the website? You see, this is why these politicians have no idea what they're doing. They just seem to think like this bill, it could easily be written to download an operating system to install on your computer. Now, what they were thinking they want to do is whether using the app version of Facebook or the website version of Facebook, but they're not being clear about this because they don't know what a computer is. I'd be willing to bet many of these people who voted for this thing don't even really use a computer. It's their staffers that use it. They sit around there making all their notes on legal pads, and they tell it to send it to the monkey in the corner and say, hey, type this up for me. You know, if you were to put them in front of a random computer and give them just maybe 20 basic tasks from an intro to computer final exam, we're talking not like how do computers work, bits and bytes and all that, but a survey of the basics of using a computer for an incompetent secretary. Okay. Give them the final exam on that and see how well they do. If they can't pass that, they should just resign. We are in the computer age. If our politicians don't know what computers are and how to work them, we are in serious fundamental problems. All right. So yeah, that was a fun one by their websites. What? So for all users that the covered operating system has determined to be a covered miner, the covered operator shall use the following settings by default. So these are the default settings, what the system has to do. Now, I think it's funny. I think that we should have the ability to turn on a lot of these settings if we want to, because a lot of these are very privacy focused. Like, you're not allowed to collect the precise GPS location. Great. Give me that option, please. Can I turn it off entirely? All right. So they may not... shall not display the existence of the account on a covered platform to any known adult user unless the miner has explicitly and unambiguously allowed the specific known adult user to view the covered miner's account, which is the loophole for the creepos. Okay. All they got to do is connect with them in one random place that doesn't have to apply to this thing. And then they'll be like, hey, but you got to ask me to get on there. I can't ask you. You got to ask me. The kid's like, okay, and they'll do it right on because he's not thinking, which is precisely why your children should not have these internet connected devices. So they shall not display media created or posted by the covered miner on a covered platform to any known adult. So the adults cannot see anything a miner does unless they are explicitly followed by the miner. They shall not permit any known adult user to like, comment on, or otherwise provide feedback on the miner's media. A covered operator shall not permit direct messaging. And again, all of these are the extra block of the sentence is all an exception saying, well, if the minor accepts the adult, why? Well, you have to have a carve out so that the kid can talk to grandma on Facebook. You got to do that. But at the same time, these are the loopholes that are going to be taken into effect. This is not going to solve any problems. It just creates multiple problems. You're going to force every single app user, social media companies, whatever else, to have a multi-tiered system, and our entire internet will effectively fall apart. The precise geolocation of the miner shall not be shared with any user unless the miner is explicitly and unambiguously chosen. They shall not receive or send currency to the miner unless the user is already connected. So stopping people from, convincing or coercing a miner with money. Fake or otherwise. And they shall not disable search engine indexing of the account miner's account profile. Let me read that one again. Cover operators shall disable. I thought that said shall not disable. So disable the search engine indexing of the account miner. So your profile would not show up on internet searches if they know that you are a miner. You can see the problems with this bill. It's kind of all over the place because fundamentally a social media site is radically different than a generic app is absolutely radical night and day. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus differences between an application and an operating system. And these people are just incompetent baboons. They're like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I don't need to know what that is. I'm the one that makes laws around here. I send my staff to do all that. That's why I need to vote these morons out. Every one of them. I don't know why I switch into a southern accent. Illinois is up in the north. But I don't know. Their brains have turned off. I don't know. The parent of a covered miner determined by the operator to be over the age of 16 may override these various settings. So all those things that we just covered, the parent can override those for the account. And anybody 16 year old age bracket or higher can also, which basically means that the parent, because you have to understand this. Parents give phones to their children so they're not bothered by their children because they're bad parents. They're digitally neglectful. They are being emotionally neglectful. They give them the tool, and then they do not want to be disturbed by the child going, Mommy, I want to download this app. Give me the thing. Mommy, I want to download this app. Give me. The parent's going to say, pick the phone. There, now you can download it. No, leave me alone. And this is precisely why I argue we need to stop writing these stupid bills, and we need to write bills for digital parental neglect. If your child is harmed by the use of a device, you are the one culpable. Did you know we put away the second, person for their child shooting up a school now? A second school shooting parent who wasn't involved in planning or execution or anything else, a parent, was put away for that, for the child's crime. If the child is getting hurt on the internet, the parent's the one that's supposed to be there. We need digital parental neglect laws. It's just updated for our current era. That way we have laws that impact these people who decide to have children. And then the rest of us can continue using our devices as we always have, because the internet is like New York City at night. It is not a place for children. But I do not want to be age gating everybody. I want to break through that. No. I don't want that. I want people to come in and be like, we need to get onto the internet. We need to use this without verifying it. And if a child gets on the internet, it's their parents' problem, not the rest of the world's problem. So the parent can disable it, all that at any time. The parent can obviously view the covered miner's history of all gifted currency. They should be able to do that anyway. Why has that not been a thing? All right. So various elements here. These are still, remember, under the topic of, I forget what topic it was now. Yes, this is protections for covered miners. These other ones here weren't particularly relevant. H, all information collected of obtaining the purpose of obtaining verifiable parental consent required shall not be used for any purposes other than obtaining verifiable parental consent and shall be deleted within a reasonable period of time after an attempt to obtain verifiable parental consent where is necessary for the compliance. Okay. So nothing in this section shall be construed to prohibit a covered operator from instituting privacy setting for covered miners. Well, this is maybe another carve out for Linux because, we just think it's better to not have any information at all. Okay. But anyway, you can choose what to use. Here's the application. A covered operator that complies with the Provisions Act shall not be held liable for any inaccuracies. And this one here is the good carve out. This is the good part of the bill. I'm surprised it survived this far. The Compliance Act shall not be required to independently verify the age. This is what clearly makes it an attestation and not a verification. All right. So the operator may not verify the information. Just whatever the parent says, that's what we're running with. So this is it here. This is under the topic of, is this under enforcement, I believe? So this is kind of how it's the enforcement by the Attorney General of the state of Illinois. So all of these things are done within the state. And they'll remove your ability to do business in the state if you don't comply. Ooh! I just always have to bust out that nice old rusty VPN and go to Indiana. Every computer user is going to join the Chicago Bears. Let's just go to Indiana. Of course, Indiana kind of leans right. Wait for Indiana's age verification bill. It's going to be, well, let's go back to Illinois. At least we can choose what our age is. until we start falling down that slippery slope, of course. All right, so in addition to the remedies provided in this section, the Attorney General exclusively may request and court may award civil penalties of $50,000 for each violation against a covered manufacturer or a covered operator found by the court. So if you happen to have a presence in Illinois and you go ahead and send this out, well, guess what, folks? You can be fined $50,000. So it's time to take your business right on over to the state line into Indiana. Maybe find some offices in the Bears. Is it the Bears or the Cubs? I'm sorry, guys. I don't follow sports. You know this. Is it the Bears or the Cubs? I thought it was the Bears. The Bears. I remember that. Was it the Bears or the Cubs? I think they're both Chicago. I have no idea. One of those sports teams left. I'm not a sports commentator. Okay. I care not about people throwing around a dead pig while wearing super tight clothes. I just don't care. Baseball, I like that a little bit better, but anyway. And they can find offices over there just across the state line because Illinois is kind of turned into nonsense. So there is effectively the bill, and it's a doozy. Specifically mentions giving away the operating system, and specifically mentions commercial or nonprofit, and doesn't look like that. But we got about 16 or so months. I said 16 months. I think we have to turn that around. And it is worth the fight. This is nonsense. But this is the quick march that will lead to a total 1984 level dystopian hellscape that will push us right on into the end times. That's my personal take on it. But hey, I know where I'm going. What do I care? I'm just here to warn you. Will you take action yourself? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.